Okay, so welcome everyone. I realise we have lots of groups in together, so some of you might not have met me before. I'm one of the progress coaches. So thank you everybody for registering and joining us here today. I realise it's not the usual way and some of you will have had a time change. So thank you for making sure you've all arrived. So just to let you know, guys, if your register isn't updated immediately after the tutorial, just give it until the end of the day, because obviously with us being so many of us in one group today, we're going to do registers at the end of the day. So just bear in mind that attendance might not change until tomorrow for your tutorial. So if throughout the presentation you've got any questions at all, you can make use of the chat function. Please do ask any questions you've got, and I will then read them out. But that's everything from me. So I will now pass over to our guest speaker this morning, David Hyner. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Emma, and welcome everyone from Stokey Sixth Form College. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, oh no, it's a little fat bloke from Birmingham with a really bad haircut. You're right. Okay, let's get over that. I am a little fat bloke from Birmingham with a really bad haircut. But when you go through life sounding like a Peaky Blinder and looking like Kung Fu Panda, you've got to get used to people making assumptions about you, judging you, stereotyping you. And in my travel around the country every year, speaking to normally when we're not in lockdown, speaking to between 10 and 50,000 young people every single year, what I see is that people in the Midlands, like Brummies and Stokies, we tend to have an awful lot of assumptions made about us, and most of them aren't good. They look at us and they don't think we're up to much. They don't give us the credibility we deserve. They never bother to find out how good we can be, but they're very quick to tell us, you can't, you're not good enough, you're not clever enough, you're this, you're that. The sad thing is that we believe them. Most of us, not all of us. In fact, I'm ashamed to say that you're looking at someone who, up until the age of 30, strived for and achieved nothing at all. I was so average, I offended myself, because I didn't go to a good school. I didn't have great teachers like you've got. And sadly, when they went, Hyner, you're going to fail, I went, okay. I just believed them because I was immature and I was a coward. Now, I don't mean coward in the sense. I mean, I was afraid of having a go at stuff in case I failed and my mates laughed at me. I was afraid of having a go at stuff in case I succeeded and my mates didn't like me. The problem is this. Your generation has got the most resources, love for the planet and fellow human beings. You're the most intelligent. You have the ability to go on to change this world forever in a way never seen before in history. That is good news. The bad news is that you might not. But not because you're not good enough, because you are. Not because you're not clever enough, because you are. Not because you're not gorgeous, because you are. Yeah, even the lads. The problem, the reason why you might not achieve all you're capable of, it's because you're more afraid of what other people think of you than you are risking failure, trying to find out how good you can be. I see it everywhere I go. So my challenge to you this morning is to stop believing other people's assumptions. Stop letting other people and situations prevent you from trying to find out how good you are. Because I've got some challenging news here, right? If you have got the type of friends who will have a go at you for trying to better yourself or find out, even if you fail, dare risk finding out how good you are, you've got fake friends. Worse than that, if you don't try and find out how good you are, you're fake. Because how can people believe you when you say, I want this, I'm going to do that, if you don't have a go? You see, some of you I know have seen me speak before, either in schools or youth groups or whatever around the place. But for those who haven't, let's just deal with something out the bat, right? Let's try and deal with assumptions. Now, I'm going to ask for Emma's help with this. I want you all to take part in an exercise on assumptions. Apart from 2 groups in 20 years of me presenting to 1 million people, apart from 2 groups, every other group have been terrible at assumptions. I wonder how good Stoke are. Well, this is what we're going to do. I'm about to tell you just 3 things about me. One of these things will be a lie, and the other 2 things will be true. So I will tell you what the 3 things are, and then you can make an assumption, because you have been making assumptions about me already, and then you, how dare you, but we do, don't we? We're human beings. Based upon the way I look, the way I sound, or my style of presentation, you can't help it. We make assumptions. So let's see how good we are. I will tell you what these 3 things mean, and then you can guess which one of the 3 is the lie. So, is the lie number 1? I have lived and worked in an African village on the west coast of Africa. Is the lie number 2? I am a qualified fire eater, but it's actually known as a fire breather. You know, breathing fire. I'm not a dragon, right? Or is the lie number 3? I am a qualified white water rafting instructor. So in the chat box, I want you to start typing either number 1, number 2, or number 3, whichever one you think is the lie. Whilst you're doing that, Emma will just ballpark tot up which 1 or 2 are the most common ones, and I'll just explain to you whilst you're voting what this is about. I interviewed for my research 250 top achievers, men and women from all walks of life who have come from nothing in most cases and achieved really cool stuff, okay? Really cool stuff. And I interviewed Professor Adrian Furnham. Now, this guy is a psychologist. He's Europe's leading psychologist. And he says half of you need to get this right for you even to be average at guessing. No pressure. So is the lie number 1? Dave, you haven't lived and worked in Africa. If you think that's a lie, part number 1. If you don't think I'm a qualified fire breathing instructor, do number 2. Or however, if you don't think I'm a qualified whitewater rafting instructor, put number 3. So Emma, if you could, when we've got
Okay, I think from my very quick just whizzing through which number is most popular, I think most people are saying number 2.
Oh, so most of you think I'm not a qualified fire breathing instructor. Okay, now the problem is that you now believe your assumption. By the way, thank you everyone for voting. Good on you. Most of you now believe that negative assumption about me. The same way as you believe when you tell yourself things like, I can't get the grades I need, I'm not clever enough. I can't concentrate because I'm too tired because I'm up all night playing games. I can't go to university because no one from our family has ever gone to university. People like me don't succeed in education. I can't do that. I'm not good enough. I don't understand. Whenever we say these negative things to ourselves, we believe them rather than finding out if they're true. I, for 30 years, believed the little voice that went, Dave, you're not good enough. And I went, okay. Since the age of 30, I've traveled the world, had adventures of a lifetime. I've broken 4 charities fundraising records, raising in excess of £750,000, run 4 businesses. An English teacher once said to me, Hyner, you're never going to write a book. Really? I've written 30. I've got, I think, 6 or now 7 Amazon #1s in subject matters. I've published 100 books, 80 audio books, 9 video courses. I've interviewed 250 top achievers, award-winning international professional speaker, had a BBC radio show. I could go on and on with the cool stuff I've managed to do since the age of 30, since waking up and going, right, let's find out what I can do. And that's what I want for you guys. I want you to wake up today and instead of going, oh, I can't do it, poor lockdown, the government, blaming everybody else for you not having the life you want. I want you to start taking responsibility. and start finding out if you can, because the truth is that you're better than you think you are. We will, all of us, still fail occasionally still, but you may as well have a go rather than regret it when you retire going, I wish I'd have had a go. So most of you are wondering, which one is the lie? Let's see if I can put you out of your misery. Okay, here is, if I can find it, an old school photograph of me in the village of Africa. There you go, look at that, surrounded by young lads. We were digging holes to plant orange trees. I've lived and worked on a village called Medina Salam on the west coast of Africa, a Muslim village in the Gambia. So number one, Africa, yes, that's true. What was the next one you believed? Well, most of you thought fire breather was the lie. Well, there you go. There's a picture of me fire breathing. And let me put yourself out. That's me, the chubby one. Yeah, Kung Fu Panda is alive and well. And so I am a qualified fire breathing instructor. Now, I don't say that, show you that, or tell you what I've done to impress you. I say it to impress upon you that I didn't start till I was 30. If you guys start today finding out what you can do, go on the adventures you want to have in life, then maybe by the age of 30, you'll out-achieve me 10 to 1. Come on. Sorry, that's a bit confrontational for motivational speakers, isn't it? Motivational speakers normally wear shiny suits, white teeth, pointy fingers, matching tie and cufflinks, and they go, hey guys, you work hard. Now, when I was your age, if someone would have gone, David, work hard, I'd have gone, no. So I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm going to show you how. And it all starts with you. Stop making assumptions and start finding out what you can do. Find out what's true. Then you have better ideas. Then you start doing more, and then you start getting better results back, and that leads to better results for you, and we can all handle that. So let me tell you a couple of examples of people I've interviewed. Top achievers say, stop playing small. Stop playing small. Stop deliberately restricting what it is you think you're capable of, and go and find out what's true. Let me give you an example. My friend Satnam Sembi, lives in Sutton Coldfield in the West Midlands. He grew up in Handsworth, Birmingham, tough part of Birmingham, all right? He was picked on at school because his clothes weren't very good. His mum and dad, they couldn't afford the trendy clothes. He had holes in his shoes. And he used to sit dreaming of one day when he was a multi-millionaire, wearing shiny suits, driving a big flash motor and very, very shiny shoes. And everybody, his family, his friends laughed at him. Even his teachers one day, when they asked him what it is he wanted to be, and he told them that, they laughed at him. But Sat Sembi, when he left school, well, he went on to shovel gravel in a builder's merchant's yard. And one day, when his shoes were so dirty, he remembered that goal. So him and his cousins started a little business in Birmingham, now based in Walsall and Sutton Coldfield, that made and fitted luxury kitchens. Get this, he makes kitchens that start at 40 grand and go up to £250,000 for a kitchen. Whoa! He now drives a flash motor. You ought to see the house he lives in. Crib. And I know it's not cool for a little fat white guy to go like that, but you know what? I don't care. Does he have shiny shoes? Yes. Does he wear nice suits? Yes. Does he get his hands dirty? No. Then there's my friend Cash Gill. His fighting name is Cash the Flash. Cash is a tall, lanky Asian guy from Coventry. He was one of the first people I interviewed. And I said, Cash, how do you behave differently to everybody else? Cash said, well, he says, Dave, I used to get picked on as a kid. Then I discovered sport. I loved exercising. I loved working really, really hard in the gym and in the ring. He says, and when I discovered kickboxing, I discovered I was technically really good at it. I got better and better and better, and I became the first proper Asian guy and the first British guy to become world #1 kickboxing champion. However, Cash was not world #1 once. He is 4 times world kickboxing champion in 4 different weight divisions. That I don't think has ever been repeated. The guy is a living legend, and all he says is be determined and find out what you can do. Then there's a lady called Carmelita Nuttall. She grew up in the Caribbean on the island of Trinidad and Tobago. Her and her mother lived on a rubbish tip, I kid you not. To make enough money to send Carmelita to school and put food on the table, her and her mother used to collect tin cans and glass bottles and recycle them for coins. They saved up enough for her to get educated. Carmelita managed to come to the UK, where now she's married. She's got several businesses. She drives a Bentley. She's a multimillionaire, property empire, numerous businesses. And all she says is you've got to fight for what you want. You can blame your surroundings. You can blame your circumstance. You can blame other people all day long. But it's up to you. Fight for what you want. Now, I'm not going to belittle anybody's situation, especially right now during COVID lockdown. All of us will have challenges going on in our lives. But here's the thing, compared to Carmelita, how many of us live on a rubbish tip and have to fight to put food on the table like that? I hope this is getting through to you. Then there was an athlete, 400 meters relay runner. He became British, European, world sporting champion, Olympic medalist. This guy is a living legend. His name's Chris Akabusi. He's a British 400 meters relay runner, now professional speaker and commentator on the athletics for the BBC. I said, Chris, what's the one thing you do differently to everybody else around you? What makes you so successful? And what I'm going to share with you now is something all of us can do, right? He pointed to a little plaque on his office wall. This plaque was a wooden plaque about that long, and on it, in gold lettering, were the words, top achievers should be looked into, not up to. And I went, very good, mate. I'm from Birmingham. What does it mean? He said, David, if you want to be outstanding at something, it doesn't matter what it is, sport, hobby, interest, gaming, nursing, teaching, it doesn't matter what you want to be, so, you know, an accountant, a solicitor, it doesn't matter what you want to be, midwife, nursery nurse, it doesn't matter, engineer, electrician, carpenter, a carrot, I don't care. Whatever it is you want to be great at, go and find somebody who is at the very, very top of the food chain, a world champion in that sport, an absolute authority as a plumber, or whatever it is you want to be, a nursery nurse, as I said, you know, midwife, whatever it is you want to be, go and track someone down at that level, not this level. Ask them to coach you and mentor you. Why would you do that? Some of you right now have got a little voice in your head. By the way, be careful of the voices in your head. Make sure they stay positive, yeah? Self-talk is critical. Some of you have got a little voice saying, they wouldn't speak to me. A top achiever wouldn't speak to me. I'm from Stoke. Well, that's an assumption. You see, I'm a little fat guy from Birmingham. I used to be a chef. That's where I get my wonderful Kung Fu Panda physique from. I want you to go and find out what's true. I want you to go and track down someone at the highest level, especially now, because they're just as bored as you are, stuck at home. Now you've got a better chance than ever of them speaking to you or communicating with you. Ask them. Chris would say, track them down, hunt them, stalk them, go through their bins, make crank phone calls, hang outside the house later tonight looking through the curtain going, here, Johnny. Don't do that. If you do that, say the college told you to do it. But what I want you to do is, no, don't. I want you to track some top achievers down and ask them to help you. If you're too scared to go after a real top job celeb, how about in your college work? If you want to go to university, get that apprenticeship, start your business, work in a company, you need good grades. So why don't you look into, rather than up to, people who are great at the parts of that subject you struggle with? Does this make sense? So let's just say maths, right? I used to struggle, and I still do, with parts of maths. I still to this day don't understand long division, fractions, or algebra. Fractions, I'll be honest with you, brings me out in a rash. It's like a foreign language. But let's just say I need to understand fractions to pass my maths to get the job I want or go to university. I now on the back of the advice from Chris Akabusi, I would track down a friend or someone in the college, be it a teacher or a student or a video online, that would help me understand fractions. And I would commit to 10 days for just 5 to 10 minutes a day. It's called the third of 1% rule. I'll talk about that in a second. 5 to 10 minutes a day for 10 days. And I would accept the fact that for the first couple of days, I'm going to struggle. But then after the first couple of days, it will get easier, easier, easier. Within 10 days, you'll own fractions. Does this make sense? So I want you to look into people who are good at the thing you want to be great at, track them down, ask you to mentor you. If anybody doubts that this can work, true story, and I have got hundreds of these on this thing alone. A young lady from Worcestershire in the sixth form, she was so shy, so scared. I thought she was going to cry just talking to me. And I do have that effect on women. But she was so shy and she wanted to go into international politics. I said, why don't you do what Chris Akabusi said? Set yourself a big goal and go and look into a top achiever in politics. She went, me? Speak to a politician? I went, yes. She went, okay. And she walked off. Now, as I said, I have that effect on women. 7 weeks later, I had a phone call from the school. It was the head of sixth form at the time. He told me about how this young lady wrote the letter of her life to the White House in Washington, and she got a 2-page handwritten letter from Barack Obama, the serving president at the time. Furthermore, she was the first international student in American history to be mentored by a serving American president. Well, is that going to look good on a UCAS application form? Huh? So, what you're waiting for, go take action. I want you to set your standards. Set your standards, right? Don't let other people or situations determine how much effort you put into things. Let me explain, right? Let me explain. Life, every single day, you wake up with an empty head, and every single day, people, the college, and people like me are going to try and fill your head with knowledge, skills, and information. Now, if you take action and use those knowledge and skills, you will become more successful. But if you don't use them, that would just be like walking around with an empty head. It is not about the acquisition of knowledge. It is about its application. So I want you to stop just gathering information and knowledge, and I want you to start using it. Take control. The way you do that is with the third of 1% rule. I talked about it earlier. Third of 1% every single day, increase in your productivity, your attitude and your motivation and your output. If you do that just for 5 to 10 minutes, right? Go rhino, as I call it, on the thing that scares you or you don't understand or you've been putting off doing. Eat the sprout first, right? For 5 to 10 minutes a day. This time next year, your effectiveness absolutely explodes. So set your standards. Don't be the person who keeps putting off, hides things under the carpet and goes, oh, I'll get around to it later. Be the person who goes, that needs doing. I'm having it. Do it. That leads to, you see, people trust people who take action. Let me explain. I also work with entrepreneurs, captains of industry and businessmen and women all over the country. I present to and coach about 200 people like that a year. I have been asking them questions during lockdown about what they expect from you when you enter the workplace. And it always used to be about academic grades and your transferable skills, your attitude, motivation, and the things you do that's relevant to the workplace. However, it's changing slightly. They're looking at more and they're looking at things differently. Let me explain. Please, if you listen to nothing else I share today, please make notes on this and take action on it. They are not just looking at the grades that you got done well in and the subjects you didn't do well in. What they're going to do is ask, why? Why did you do well in that? Why didn't you do well in that? And if you say things like it was too difficult or I didn't like it, they're going to ask you awkward questions like, so if I give you something you don't like, don't understand or don't want to do, does that mean you're not going to bother? So I want you to try and work and raise your standards of these subjects so that you've got a fairly even keel up here rather than this disparity and mismatch of grades. Keep going, Rhino. The next thing they're going to look for is your transferable skills. What do you do in your spare time? Do you just sit at home on the Xbox or PlayStation playing games? Nothing wrong with that if you're going into the gaming industry. However, are you in the Army Cadets, Navy Cadets, the Scouts, the Guides? Do you volunteer for different groups? Do you go to church? Do you volunteer for charity? Do you do your own business in your spare time? Do you learn a musical instrument? Do you read books? Do you take courses off your own back? Do you learn musical instruments? Do you play an instrument? All of these things are relevant because one question every employer should be asking you when you go for a job is, what did you do during lockdown? And if you can't answer them by going, I did this, and there's things you can do, or it's very easy for all of us to blame the government, blame the NHS, blame whoever, or blame the virus for us not being able to do our stuff. If any of you are blaming anybody for you not getting the education you need, well, that's your fault. Take control. There's nothing stopping you with taking a course online, reading a book, taking a qualification. During lockdown, I'm not saying this to brag, I'm saying it just as an example. Years ago, I'd have done nothing at all during lockdown. I was so lazy. Now, I took 3 courses, 1 qualification, one of them in a neuroscience, neurological thinking. I've learned a musical instrument, the ukulele. In fact, you can probably see the ukulele just back there. I'm learning the ukulele, and I'm doing all sorts of crazy stuff. I've written a book. I've made 2 video courses. My friends, what are you going to do with your time? Who is an employer going to employ? Someone who sat at home all day moaning, or someone who did stuff, someone who started a business, someone who helped out, volunteered? Do something. Even if you don't think you can do anything, when you go out a walk for your exercise, pick litter up. You go, I'm not doing that. Yeah, okay, well, don't get a job. Don't get transferable skills. These are the things employers are looking for. Now, some of you are saying, okay, Dave, all very well you saying that. How do we do this? So please grab a pen and paper, and I want you please to write a list of all the things you can think of you'd have to do to go up by 2 grades in your qualification. Just to write down a list of all the things you could do or have got to do. Here's a little list I made earlier, right? So let's just have a look at this, right? You don't have to copy this list exactly. You write your list. If any of these work for you, fill your boots, add them to your list. But number 1, have a reason why you must succeed. Have a reason why you must succeed. People succeed far, far more and bigger if they know why they're achieving the goal. Do you know why you need your qualifications? Or are you just doing it because your mates are? Really? Number 2, do you have any adventures in your life, or do you just sit at home? What do you do with your spare time? Number 3, one of the biggest things employers are looking for right now, even above attitude and motivation, is the ability to communicate. 20 years ago, I would have been physically sick with nerves and fear at the thought of giving a presentation to camera, let alone to an audience. Now, I've got 9 video courses, I present live and virtually all the time, and I've traveled the world speaking to 1 million people. You can overcome your fears and inadequacies. Learn communication skills. Improve your work ethic, 5 to 10 minutes a day. Do the thing that you're struggling with. Have a goal. I'm going to show you why I've drawn a pyramid there in a minute. Look at your interests. Look into people who are good at the things you want to do. If you're doing this for a subject to raise your grades up, how about things like memory skills, do past papers, go onto BBC Bite Size, watch videos on YouTube, make videos of you teaching the stuff you don't understand. All of this stuff can make a difference to you. All of this stuff can work. But to begin with, write a big list. Then you'll see I've written numbers next to it. That's because you need to prioritize the list in order of importance and scariness to you. So what do I mean by that? The more afraid of doing that thing you are, so I've written number one, right? It's important and it's really scary to me. Having a why, I don't know why, right? So that's number one. Number two, I put look into. I don't want to approach successful people, but it's really going to help you. So to me, that's number two. Number three is have a goal in a plan, in a triangle. I'll show you how in a minute. So prioritize the list. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. However many things you've got, write a number next to it. List it in order of importance and scariness. Then, on the other side of the paper or on a bit different bit of paper, I want you please to draw a dirty, great big triangle. It doesn't matter how many rows and blocks it's got in the triangle, as long as you've got twice as many blocks in your triangle as things on your list. So if you've got 10 things on your list, at least 20 blocks in your pyramid. If you've got 100 things on your list, 200 blocks in your pyramid. That way, instead of having to rewrite a plan if something else crops up you haven't thought of or considered, all you do is write it in an empty box. Simple, huh? So, you draw a pyramid, then you get your list and you transfer the things from your list into the pyramid. So you put the most important, number 1, 2, 3, in these bottom lower blocks, and you fill from left to right the rows using 1 or 2 words or a picture that represents the thing you're trying to do in each block. And if you've got twice as many blocks in your pyramid, you'll half fill your pyramid. Sweet. Then, whilst your time, energy, motivation and resources at its greatest, you do the thing you've been putting off doing first. So instead of doing the easy things to cross it off and feel good, because you like crossing off, don't you? Whilst your energy is at its greatest, you do the horrible thing first. That way, when all your mate's goal is getting harder, your goal therefore can only get easier. Does this make sense? So I'm looking for my marker pen now and I'll put it away. So here we go, got a big marker pen. Right. So let me get something to lean on. Whilst your energy is at its greatest, find out, why do I need this qualification? When you've got it, cross it off. When you've found someone to look into who's great at that subject, that sport, that job you want, cross it off. Or maybe you need to look into someone who's doing that university course that you want to do. Whatever, fill your boots. Next thing, have a goal in a triangle. When you've got a drawn, planned out, cross it off. When you're going on adventures, doing things with your spare time in your social life that's going to look good on your CV, cross it off. When you've improved your work ethic by 5 to 10 minutes a day, doing the thing you've been putting off doing, increases your productivity and output and success by 1/3 of 1% a day, you do the maths. It's over 100% improvement in your awesomeness inside a year. And all you got to do is 5 to 10 minutes a day. Come on. I had a young lad from Manchester who went to a primary school, and he was terrified of long multiplication. Honestly, he used to have a panic attack every time it was even mentioned in class. He had to leave the room. 10 days later, by having to go for 5 to 10 minutes a day, even though he failed dismally the first 2 or 3 days, 10 days later, he smashed 10 out of 10 long multiplication questions in the headmaster's office. Boom! So you're going to let a primary school kid from Manchester beat you? Come on. When you've improved your communication skills, cross it off. When you're working on your interests and transferable skills, cross it off. And all you do is step by step, do realistic and achievable steps towards your massive goal. I hope that makes sense. You take realistic, every single one of these on their own is realistic and achievable, but your big goal is massive. Don't let the massive goal scare you, as long as you've broken it down into realistic and achievable steps. If you're thinking to yourself, Dave, I don't know how to do that. Well, let me show you. Here's the very first pyramid I ever did. Do you remember I told you earlier that I raised all that money for cancer research? This is the very first triangle we ever did. We organised a trek, not a check, that's something different altogether. A China trek. We organised 82 people trek along the Great Wall of China. We raised over £288,000. That's my triangle. I've used these to have Amazon #1 books, start businesses, and do all sorts of crazy, wonderful things since. People, honestly, we've had students, let alone the adults that have used this stuff. Using these triangles, we've had students become British and European sporting champions, one world sporting champion, Amazon #1 best-selling authors. We've had students become millionaires after starting businesses while still in the education process. My friends, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? This is an 11-year-old schoolgirl from Tamworth who started a business, and that's her triangle. Over the next 11 years, her business online made her between £100 and £700 a week. She didn't leave university 50 grand in debt. She left university with a brand new BMW, a house paid for outright, and cash in the bank. Do you know what I call that? I call that. So what are you going to do? We've talked about assumptions, not playing small, looking into top achievers, not up to them. We've talked about setting your standards and not walking around with an empty head. We've talked about what employers are looking for, 5 to 10 minutes a day, stepping up and setting massive goals in a pyramid. The last thing I want to talk to you today before I open the chat box for questions, please feel free to start asking your questions in the chat box. Make sure they're clean, legal and appropriate, my little chickens. And in a few minutes, Emma's going to ask your questions to me. And if I can answer them, I will. So you can ask me anything about me, my research, or anything I've talked to you about, or the top achievers I've interviewed. Okay, so start asking questions and I will send a prize for you to the college for the best question that I'm asked, whoever asked the best question. I'm going to leave you with a true story though. And the true story is all about being respected rather than liked. Remember at the beginning, I said you're too busy trying to be liked instead of finding out what's true. Well, the problem is that when we try to be liked rather than respected, there is nothing that's enough. You can take all the selfies in the world, but if no one likes you, you're going to cry in a corner. So stop trying to be liked. Not everybody's going to like us, all right? And I don't care if it's, oh, I'm too shy and everyone else is extrovert, or I'm too extrovert and everyone else is introvert. I don't care if you're black, white, brown, pink. I don't care what your color, your culture, your background, your faith is. All of us should get along. We should respect. We shouldn't seek to be liked. Let me explain. If you seek respect by the things you do, if you all take action on the things I've just shared with you today, right? Let's just say all of you step up, get a mentor, set a massive goal, start working hard towards it 5 to 10 minutes a day. That is awesome. That deserves respect. If you go off this call and say, I'm not doing anything because my mates aren't, I'll look stupid. Well, my friends, that's nothing to be respected. And I had a friend, when I was your age, I used to play in a band with 3 lads from Wednesbury in the Black Country, and we were bad. And I don't mean we were bad. I mean, we were bad. We were shocking. We were awful. And there was Paul on rhythm guitar. Mark, he was the good looking one and he could sing. So he played rhythm guitar and he could sing. Then there was Andy, my best mate. He was the drummer and Andy was really good, really good. And this lad used to come and watch us, right? His name was John Brooks. John was a nice lad, but he was always missing. When me and the lads were playing football in the park every weekend and every night after school and over the days in the holidays, John was never there. But John used to rag Andy. He used to go, I'm going to be a rock star. And Andy, the drummer, the capable one, he'd go, no, you're going to be a dustman, mate. I'm going to be the rock star. And they used to go like this all the time. My mate Andy, he became an electrician. John, when we were playing football in the park, used to get on a bus to Birmingham, hang outside a recording studio. He got in with a massive rock band from Wolverhampton. When he finished school, without telling us, he travelled the world with them as stage crew. In the stage crew, he met 2 lads from Manchester, 1 from Liverpool. They started a little band, and that little band went on to be the best-selling album band across the whole of Europe throughout the decade of the 1980s. The band were called the Charlatans, and the drummer was called Johnny Brooks. Johnny Brooks sadly died a couple of years ago, but he would have left you with a message. He'd have said, fight for what you want, and when other people are in the park, you get on the bus. So, are you in the park or are you on the bus? Are you doing the same things every day and it's like punching yourself in the face and you're wondering why? And all you need to do is take action, maybe go a little bit more rhino. Hey, My friends, if you've enjoyed the session, I'm David Hyner. If you haven't, I'm just some nutter who lives in Staffordshire. But please keep posting your questions in the box and for the last few minutes. If there's any questions, I'll answer them. If not, I will finish with another story. We got any questions in the box, Emma?
We have, yes. So first of all, just thank you. That was incredible. Lots and lots of people I know have enjoyed it. So first question from Tom. He is asking, where did the water in the mug go?
So 20 plus years of research, and all Tom wants to know is how do I do a cup trick? Right. Okay. Tom, honestly, I'm just telling you, Tom, don't tell anyone else. Right. It's just a normal cup, okay? I promise you, normal white cup. In the bottom of a cup, put a chemical. It's a powder called slush powder. And I go like that, and you don't see it because it's white powder in a white cup. When I pour water in and talk rubbish for 15 seconds, it sets into a gel inside the cup. Can you see that? And I can tip it upside down, it don't fall out. Let me show you. Right? Look at that. a big lump, a big lump. So there you go, Tom. That's how you do a cup trick. Have we got a question? Any other questions about the
We
stuff I
have.
did?
Wow, that's incredible.
Emma,
Okay,
Emma, I don't want you to be concerned, but I think you've got a stalker on your shoulder.
it's okay. I'm not too concerned. It's one of the other progress coaches that just really wanted to see what happens with the white mug.
20 years of
Okay,
research, and all anyone ever wants to know is how do you do a cup trick? I know.
next question from Reese. Why did you want to be a motivational speaker?
Thank you for asking, Reese. I'll be honest with you, there's two reasons. One is because when I started to achieve using this goal setting triangle for the first time in my life, I realized that actually it could help people. And because in my school back then, no people like us ever came into a school. This is why, even though you don't think you've got cool lecturers and teachers, you've got a rocking college to get people like me in. Seriously, you really need to thank them big time for doing stuff like this. And that's not me bigging me up. This is honestly, you should big the college up. People like me cost a lot of money. The reason I come in and try to help you is because nobody looked me in the eye as a teenager and said, come on, you can do this. And if you use one thing on here, Race, I dare you not to become more effective. In which case, job done, having it. Having it. All I want to do is help average people be a bit less average, achieve just a little bit. If I can make everyone just a little bit better today than they were yesterday, job done. Job done. Good question.
Okay, thank you. Next question from Molly. How did you develop your communication / presentation skills?
Oh, now so far, that's the best question, Molly. That's the best question so far. So do you remember I said you need a reason why? You need a reason why you must take action. Well, my reason to learn how to communicate and present in public was that there's no way I could share this triangle if I stood in front of you and went, hello, children, today I'm going to tell you how to set bigger goals. Would you agree? You'd have killed me. We wouldn't have had 100 plus on this webinar. We'd have had 2, right? You'd have all vanished into thin air. As it is, I totally respect you guys for staying on the call. That is respected. See the difference between being liked and respected. So I had a reason why I needed to learn how to present in public. And do you remember me telling you, I was like terrified of school and education. I didn't do well. But when I realized I need to learn, I took myself back to college one night a week doing night classes. I started a course on public speaking skills, and it should have taken 7 years from start to finish, one night a week. Because I went a little bit rhino, I got the whole lot with the best grades the college had ever seen inside 2.5 years. Having it. That's what happens when you've got a reason why. That is why. And honestly, I don't always speak like this, but when I talk about goals, this is natural. It's not an act, I promise you. I'm obsessed with trying to help people become better. So that's why I had a reason why, Molly. Great question. Great question. Have we got time for one more? Is there one?
Yes, so there's quite a few more, so I'm just kind of thinking if there's any that you may not have
I can
covered.
happily stay on if needs be.
Okay, well, I'll just take oh, there's so many good ones to choose from. Okay, you mentioned speaking to the best person in that area. This question's from Taylor. How would I approach speaking to a car designer? How should I talk to them, and what would I ask?
Okay, Molly, you answered a great question. Who asked this question, Emma?
Taylor.
Taylor.
Yeah.
Taylor knocked it out the park with the last question. Well done. Taylor, great question. Right, you want to track down a car designer. The first thing I would do is start reading the books on design engineering courses at university. Because if you get to university to do that design engineering course, if that's the course you need to do, by the time you get there, you'll be so far ahead of everybody else your age. Task number one. Number two, I would speak to car designers. Ignore all the other social media platforms and look at something called LinkedIn. Put yourself a free profile up and start speaking to and connecting with, search for car designers. And when you speak to them, you ask them questions like, what have you got to do to become a car designer? How do you think and behave? What would I have to do? And the great question is, will you mentor me? And if you ask around at your college, university, I guarantee somebody will know a car designer. Somebody will know, Taylor. Take action, never give in.
Okay, so guys, I know that we are now running over time. David, if you are happy, I will ask you a few more questions if you want.
Yeah, I'm free till midday. Free till midday. You carry on. If anybody
Okay.
needs to go, you need to go. But yeah, I'll happily stay and chat.
If not, carry on. Okay. And just to let you know, there's lots of comments saying this is the best thing I've ever seen. Thank you. So just wanted to tell you that before people do log off.
Stokey rhinos, Emma. Stokey rhinos.
Okay, so let's take the next question. How do you measure success?
Oh, that's a good. These guys are asking awesome questions.
That's from Cameron.
And Cameron, that is such an intelligent question because you must understand what your measurement for success is, right? Because some people watching this could look at me and say, well, I'm not listening to you talking about massive goals, Dave, because you're fat. You should lose it. Well, that's you trying to tell me my goals. What you should ask me is what's my measurement for success, by which I'm knocking it out the ballpark. So it was Cameron, was it? Cameron, you ask a fantastic question. So I would turn it on you and say, what's your measurement for success? Is it money, health, happiness, making a difference? Is it how many cars you've got, how many houses you're going to own? Is it how well you are respected in your community or by your family or your peer group? Is it your measurement of success is a gold medal at the Olympics, or maybe it's having a #1 Amazon book? Or what is your measurement for success? And do not let anybody, even me, tell you what your measurement for success should be. But once you know what your measurement is, everything you do should be put against that measurement. And if it's not taking you closer, don't do it. Don't do it. Great question.
Thank you. Next question from Trinity. What's the best way to set up a business with not a lot of money to start it?
Oh, okay, that you might say I haven't got any skills. The quickest way to start any business, if without any money or very little money, is to sell your time and your service for money. Let me explain. Two lads from Worcestershire who were, let's just say, quite challenging young men. Okay, they had a reputation and it wasn't a good one. They came up to me at the end and says, Dave, we've got £5, want to start a business. What should we do? I jokingly, because I'd heard of their reputation, said, why don't you wash cars? I heard from the head teacher 6 months later that they took their £5 to the local Wilkinsons and the pound shop. They bought 2 buckets, 2 sponges, 2 baseball caps with that money, and they started washing cars. Within 6 months, they weren't washing cars. They were hiring all their friends to wash the cars. They were knocking on doors. I've heard, because I stayed in touch with them, year or 2 later, they had 2 permanent car washes in Worcestershire, and they were making serious wonga. So you could sell your time. I know students who are fantastic at maths up there, and I promise you, up in Manchester, there's a school called Hyde School, and two of their students, actually, they work together. They do tutoring sessions for other students because they relate to people their age. What subject are you great at? You could sell your tutoring services, babysitting, newspaper round. You could start a business making and selling crafts, toys. I know a bloke, right, who used to take photographs of the sunrise and sunsets when he walked the dog of a morning. He got quite good at it. He sold his first picture for £3,000 a couple of years ago. My friends, what could you do? Huh? More important, you do something than nothing, though. It's okay to fail or discover something's not for you, but it's not okay to not do anything. Great question. What else we got, Emma?
Thank you. Okay, next question from Emmanuel. He's asking, how do you get out of the lazy phase?
Oh, Emmanuel. I'm feeling it, mate. I'm feeling it. For 30 years, my Saturday was lying on the settee with a remote control with a duvet on me. Didn't move all day. Now, I can't sit down for that long. The most important thing, Emmanuel, is to find an adventure to go on. An adventure can be literally planning in the summer to go and live and work in an African village, which, by the way, if anyone wants to, I can give the details to the college of how you could do that. You could write a book. You could create a game, start a game. You could volunteer. And if all your mates would laugh at you for doing it, you do it because it's the right thing and you get respect for it. You could start walking dogs for elderly people in your road who can't get out. Go and do their shopping. Do the right thing, put it on your CV. You'll get exercise, fresh air. You might even get some qualm for doing it. Mate, kudos, respect. Just do the right thing. Go on adventures. Doesn't matter how big or small they are. Write a book, 1 page a day. Write a book. This time next year, 1 page a day, 365-page book. Not many kids your age can call themselves a published author. Have a go. Do something. Why don't you off your own back find something you want to do and do a course on it, get a qualification, start a musical instrument, have an adventure, dude. Gets you motivated to get out the armchair and have an adventure. Good question, mate.
Thank you. Okay, next one from Meg says, what is the best way to balance your passion with doing well at school?
Great question. I would link it. If it's at all possible, link it. So if you're passionate, let's try and think of something totally bizarre. So doing well at school, a subject you struggle with, or college might be, I don't know, I'll pick maths because I would struggle with maths, okay? Let's say maths is the struggle. And the thing you're most passionate about is, I don't know, I'm guessing football? Let's have a guess. So football and maths, how can you possibly link those together? Well, why don't you create a little video that you could then sell online of how to solve maths problems using football as the metaphor? So substitutions, that's subtraction and addition. How about all the angles? There's physics and maths in there, working out the angles of a pass. Or statistics can be worked out in football of how many goals are scored within 10 passes, 3 passes, or a ball over the top and knocked in, hit and run. You could work out so many different, the circumference of the football pitch. There's another maths thing. In fact, dude, here's the deal. You make a cracking football maths video that helps young people understand maths using football as the metaphor, and you call me. I might even buy it off you to use in schools.
Okay, next question.
Yeah.
So we've got a couple that are quite linked. So both Trinity and Cody are asking about confidence. So one saying that they already feel confident, but where do they then go to get opportunities to use the confidence? And the other one saying, how can they work on confidence and become more confident?
Okay, so whether or not you are confident, we can be more confident. And you might have heard the expression, fake it until you make it. Now, I was taught this technique by a world #1 tennis champion, right? And he said, Dave, he says, you stand there and you imagine standing in front of you is your sporting hero. Because world sporting champions, would you agree, they hold themselves, it's called deportment. They stand up straight, they have their head up, they speak with certainty, confidence, conviction, they use gesture, they're not afraid to look people in the eye, they would not hesitate in picking up the phone to ask for help. These people have an inner confidence. And I tell you, they're human beings, they still get scared. But to begin with, to improve their confidence, they imagine their hero standing in front of them. Have you ever heard the expression, walk a mile in their shoes? Well, in your imagination, you look down and you imagine their big shoes on the floor in front of you. It's their shoes. And when you step into their shoes in your imagination, you have their certainty, confidence, and conviction. So you imagine literally putting on the shoes, and when you turn to face the world, you are only allowed to stand, walk, talk, sit, behave, speak like a world champion. Fake that inner confidence until it becomes who you are. Honestly, on my boy's life 20 years ago, I would have been physically sick with fear at the thought of doing this. All I've got is a reason why I must that is bigger than my fear of failure. Do I fail occasionally? Big time. I once fell off a 4-foot stage at a conference with 2,000 people in the room. That is embarrassing. Of course, I still got a standing ovation at the end. But that's because I stood up, got back on the stage and carried on without even referring to it, like a boss. Why? Because I was in the shoes of my speaker hero. So whoever it is you want to be, step into their shoes in your imagination, be that person. If you want to go outside and doss around or play games, but you know that person would study for an extra 5 minutes, study for an extra 5 minutes. If you want to be a footballer, but you're not even prepared to go out and get fit, when Cristiano Ronaldo would stay behind, even now as an absolute legend, multi trophy winner and award winner, he still stays behind after training for half an hour, hanging hoops on goalposts, trying to curl balls into through these hoops. Why? Because he's Cristiano Ronaldo. So do you want to be Trevor, who plays in the local park team, or do you want to be Cristiano Ronaldo? You got to do what you got to do.
Thank you,
Word.
David. So just one question, and I'll kind of merge Tom and Evie's questions together. They are asking, how did you know what you wanted to do and what motivated you to become what you are today?
Stop the press. Best question and the last one. How do you determine what it is you want to do? So important. Most people are terrified of having a go at something in case it's the wrong thing, or they've got a dozen ideas. Typically, I have honestly hundreds of kids every year come to me, students and staff, to be fair, and they say, "Oh, Dave, how do you know? I don't know what it is I want to do." Very rarely is that the case. Typically, they've got several ideas and they don't know which one, and they're afraid to do anything. The most important thing is to write down all the ideas you've got, pick one that you think excites you, and research it to the nth degree. If you discover it's not for you, sweet, get rid, next one, boom. The most important thing is do something to find out if it's the right thing. If you procrastinate, which means do nothing, the longer, and I'm sure everyone watching this has got experience of, when you do nothing, the stress and the overwhelm gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until you're paralyzed with fear and you can't take action. So the most important thing is, even if you don't know if it's right for you, whatever it is on your list, find out, do something. It's been a privilege working with you all, guys. Have a terrific rest of your day. And remember to thank the college, yeah?
Thank you, David. You've been amazing. Just quickly to tell everybody that this has been recorded, so we will share it with you students as well as with David, just so you can recap anything that he said that you may have missed. So thank you so much, David. Loads of thanks in the chat and people saying it's been really helpful. So thank you very much. And guys, you can go now. Thank you. Just everyone saying thanks, bye. Thank you so much. This has been very helpful.
Brilliant. Well, I'm pleased for you as well, because I appreciate it's a big thing to do this for a college. Well done. Thank you, Emma.
Well, no, thank you. That was brilliant, and lots of my colleagues as well have been messaging to say how much they've enjoyed it. It's been really great.
Please apologise
okay.
to your colleague. Please apologise to your colleague for me calling him a stalker.
Don't worry, you took it well. Okay, I'll let you get off then. So thanks ever so much, David. You've been amazing.
Pleasure.
All
Lovely
right.
chatting to you.
Take
You're a nice
care.
player. Ta-da.
Yeah, I will do. Bye.